Good afternoon to all my usual viewers and subscribers, and any new viewers may come across us here this evening. I'm live. It's 5:38 p.m. here on East Coast time, and I want to bring you some of the latest information that is coming out of Washington. President Biden was just on the air, and your host here, William B. Strong, State of Affairs, was listening in to this live news conference from the White House. Now, this is a little unusual on a Friday, late Friday afternoon, for the president to speak to the country, but I think he's signaling some very important future developments potentially due to the Ukraine-Russia conflict. It's something he wanted the American people to know and to understand. And I want to give you some of the key highlights of this if you haven't had a chance or opportunity to see it. I'm going to refer to some of my notes here. I invite you to send me a comment here on the program. I'll stay up as long as we have some comments, and not stay on here too long to get you totally bored. So again, today being 18th of February, the key points to what Biden had to say was that there's nothing significantly new in developments beyond the scope that diplomacy has failed to this point. Biden left the door open for continued diplomacy with the Russians and Putin. There is a, let's say, important meeting scheduled in Europe this Wednesday with high officials, State Department officials. Secretary of State Blinken will be there to meet with the Russians as well as some other European leaders. There will be no presidents in this meeting. Joe Biden is not going to be in that meeting. Putin won't be in that meeting. So heads of state won't be involved in the meeting. Biden says he doesn't plan any other calls to Putin at this point, but he leaves his phone open. Now, one of the most important things, I think the number one item that I want you to be aware of is Biden believes that there is high potential for the invasion of Russia into the Ukraine. He left no doubt in his statements today about that. And at the end of the press conference, he was asked a direct question about that. And he said he believes the Russians will invade and that they have intelligence to back that up. Now, is this a ploy by the US and NATO to try to bluff the Russians into thinking that we know everything that they're planning to doing and hoping they will back down? Is this a bluff? Is this a poker game where we're really holding no cards and hoping that Putin folds his three aces and drops out of the pot? Who knows? But this is where we are at this point, with a high potential of invasion in the coming days. Now, I've gone on record on several programs on the internet. Excuse me. One of those being a program called, what is it called? Chat Live with Lee Wheelbarger. Now, Mr. Wheelbarger, in my opinion, is a conservative internet YouTube talk show host that focuses on world affairs and national and world emergencies. I've interacted him through texting, and he didn't like some of my predictions. One of them being that I told him and his audience that there would be no possible invasion by the Russians until after the Olympics. And Mr. Wheelbarger, Lee as they call him, scoffed at my position, said that the Chinese could give a shit about what the Russians do or don't do and could care less. And he said that the Russians will do whatever they want, that they don't care what their friendly neighbor, China, thinks or cares about. So he's decided that the Russians will do whatever they want when they want to do it. I disagree with that. I don't think, and I've said that several days ago, that there will be no invasion by Russia into Ukraine until the closing ceremonies of the Chinese Olympics, which is this Sunday on the I think it's what the 19th or 20th. Sunday or Monday. I think it's 20 February when they end. And right now that's playing out. So Mr. Wheelbarger has not issued any type of apology to me. He has in fact, I can't even get on his channel anymore. I think he's kind of put me on the silence button. So beyond that, Biden reiterated that the Nord Stream 2 pipeline project that runs from near St. Petersburg in Russia to Germany will not go forward. It is built, but it's not operational. It's not online. It's not online. So at this point, welcome Crazy Noel to the broadcast. Yes, I believe I was blocked. I've had to go through to subscribe to him again. This is on Wheelbarger, and I have to wait 3 days to get in. Now, let me talk about Mr. Wheelbarger for a minute while I'm on this. He claims to be impartial, unbiased in his views. I think he's a little bit more self-centered and believes he is a military and intelligence expert. He's got a pretty impressive channel. I like his format and what he's trying to do. He's got a pretty good little audience there, but he was demonetized by YouTube. And I believe somehow one of his mods or moderators have took me out of the subscription and I couldn't get back in. So I have resubscribed and I plan on telling him what happened. We'll see what he says. But back to what I was saying, the sanctions, Biden reemphasized the strong sanctions that will be brought against Russia. He's been saying that a long time. We'll see if the allies, NATO, and the U.S. can make that happen. He reemphasized no U.S. troops on the ground. No U.S. troops will go into Ukraine to engage the Russians. There won't be any U.S. aircraft going into that battle. We won't be firing any artillery in that battle. So there won't be any troops whatsoever in this engagement. Now, we will likely continue to supply weapons, heavy weapons, plenty of ammunition to the Ukrainian people, to the Ukrainian army, and to their volunteer forces. But let me say this, like in Afghanistan, a lot of those armaments could fall into the hands of the Russians because it is likely that the Russians will crush the Ukrainian resistance. And what I mean by resistance is the physical army. They will crush them in a matter of days if they really go all in, if the Russians go all in. Likely the battlefield would begin with bombing, heavy artillery fire, and that's before the Russians would actually put their ground troops into battle. And that's a normal course of battle. So let's make sure that everybody understands that there won't be any NATO forces and there won't be any US forces on the ground in Ukraine doing any fighting. Now, there are some US citizens who have volunteered their services to some of the militia groups, the Ukrainian militia groups there. So they could get caught up in that, but that's the freedom of their choice. As you know, Biden has warned all US citizens to get out of the way and to evacuate from the country as soon as possible. He also said that we will guarantee $1 billion in economic aid to the Ukrainian people. NATO and the United States will hold the Russians fully responsible for any significant incursions, i.e., invasions into the country, period. They believe that the Russians are looking for an excuse. They believe that excuse will be manufactured as a false flag operations in the Donbass region, which is in eastern Ukraine and which has been in conflict with Russian separatists for the last several years. Biden made it quite clear and strongly that the entire free world is watching this situation. And this is a significant world event. And that if Putin steps forward into an invasion, he will be isolated from the rest of the world. At the end of his comments, he did take a couple of questions before he walked off the stage. And he said that he strongly believes that Putin is done with diplomacy and that he will attack in Ukraine. The other thing that I thought was interesting that he wanted the American people to know, there could be some pain here at home. Pain at the gas pumps, pain in supply lines, and also that there could be some degree of cyber attacks launched from Russia against the United States. And he didn't specify where those attacks would take place. But my advice to any of my listeners out there, and I put this out to family members earlier today, not to panic anybody, but anytime you see a major event that could impact the infrastructure around you, you must prepare for that. And in this case, if this conflict spirals out of control, you want to be ready for that. You want to be ready, especially from a banking situation. If the US banking system got attacked in a cyber attack, you might not be able to get money out of an ATM when you need it. And anyway, even under the normal world conditions, you should have a certain amount of cash hidden away in your home in order to get through a crisis, whether it be weather or whether it be a world crisis, anything. That cash can carry you forward until it gets rectified. Now you say, well, how much will should I need? Well, I would say if you can afford to put $500 into your household in cash, that you do that and you put it in a safe place. If you can afford more than that, I suggest you have at least $1,000 put away. And I would be gassing up my car at this point because you can bet that there's going to be price increases anywhere from 50 to 75 cents a gallon to potentially $2 a gallon if this conflict takes place. Crazy Noel, very active out there tonight. Thanks for weighing in. Thanks for coming on the channel. What he asked, what is money? What is money? What is money going to be worth, though? All the point of sale systems won't work. Well, Crazy Noel, we operated in this country, in the world, for many, many centuries without electronic systems. Okay. Cash, you could still walk in and pay for stuff with cash. Okay. If you want to buy a gallon of milk, you can walk in and buy a gallon of milk. All right. For whatever it is, $4. The store owners, trust me, will find a way outside of electronic cash registers to ensure that they can sell a product and then we'll take cash. All right. I wouldn't have any fear of that whatsoever. So trust me, I would go ahead and try to put some cash together. Now let me tell you a little story. And I hinted about this in a broadcast earlier, I think this week, that when I was a child growing up in the Tampa Bay Clearwater area as a child, and that's in Florida, Central Florida, I went through the Cuban Missile Crisis in the 1960s when John F. Kennedy was in a chess match with the Soviet Union and Khrushchev. The Russians moved missiles that could reach the United States, and especially Florida, but the United States in general, into Cuba. They put them on boats and took them down there and set them up. And we had the videos from flyovers to see that. This was a real big deal. Okay. I was in elementary school, so I was in probably 4th, 5th, 6th grade. I certainly remember it. But we used to have in school, this is how heated this got, where we thought there would be a nuclear exchange, not just from the Cuban missiles, but from Russia itself to the United States, and the United States would respond. We thought we were on the brink of nuclear war in the 60s. We would do duck and cover drills in our classrooms. That's how serious this was taken. That if a nuclear round was to hit anywhere near our area, hopefully we would get some kind of warning. We would get under our wooden desk on the floor and actually cover our heads and keep our faces down towards the floor. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? We didn't ask why. We probably didn't understand why, what was going on. We were too young to really understand the implications of this. But duck and cover drills, you can look it up on YouTube, you can look it up on the internet, Cuban Missile Crisis. I stress that you go ahead and take a look at that. I believe we are closer to that today with this conflict in Ukraine than any other time since then. All these years. But this is a big crisis. Now, even Biden was asked, would Putin use nuclear weapons? Biden played that down. But you have to understand something. You've got to think about this a little bit. The three major superpowers, the United States, China, and Russia. I've got a call coming in. Let me kill this. Probably the president, right? Or Lee Wheelbarger. No, I'm just kidding. But let me go back to what I was saying. Sorry, I broke my thought. This is more important than anything in my lifetime in terms of getting close to a nuclear World War III. And it's not to be taken lightly, not to be taken lightly. The Russians have missiles pointed at the United States. They have missiles pointed at China. China has the same against Russia and against the United States. We have it against China and Russia. They all have military targets picked out and against civilian populations. Three men hold in their hand the power to launch those attacks. Do we ever think in this world that we couldn't have such a thing? If we think that, why do we have these in countries anyways? Do we only think it's used for a defensive weapon? Why couldn't it be used for an offensive weapon? This is a very, very serious situation. I'm not trying to panic anybody. I'm just trying to tell you, make sure you pay attention to what's going on. If you're not watching at least 30 minutes of national news each evening or looking on a reliable source on the internet to get your news, there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you. Crazy. No, that's not the missile alert system. That call that came in from one of my subscribers and viewers, and I'll get back to them. But that's what I wanted to bring you up to date on. Wanted to come on here live, give you a chance to interact. My thanks go out to Crazy Noel. As we get additional updates, anything breaking news, I'll bring it to you. I will bring it to you. I'll do my best to my ability to bring it to you. Okay. Now, I don't have thousands of subscribers, and that's okay. That's okay. But if you want to interact with the program, whoever it is, they keep calling. They keep calling. Actually, that's a different subscriber calling in. I can't put them on in this program right now. I'm working on some technical things for the format, and but I appreciate you all coming in today. Crazy No, thanks for being a loyal subscriber. I'll get back to you, but hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and join me on the next My State of Affairs. And this is William B. Strong, and be safe out there. Good night and good luck.